Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the Hard Truth Distilling Company in Brown County, Indiana.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world. Time! Three on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game! Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni! Float game for the win! Ayler's gone! Goodbye, touchdown, Indy! Woo! IU! America! They got a football team now!
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Now, from the Hard Truth Studios, here's Jim Coyle.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome into another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you here on this Thursday. So glad to have you with us as always. Hope your day has started off well. And if not, hopefully we can be a part of getting it headed in the right direction. But appreciate you joining us as always, no matter where or how you're listening. And if it's on one of our great affiliates like 97.7 ESPN, The Ref in Evansville, or 12:30 a.m., AM 104.7 FM, WJOB, the voice of the region, or over in Fort Wayne on 1380 The Fan, Fort Wayne's only sports station. Just keep it locked on these stations all day. No reason to go anywhere else. For continued great content. And thanks again for joining us all here on the program today. We'll pick it up with Coach Shannon Griffith here early on, talk some IU football. As Chris Denari is still hitting the recruiting trail, man. And quarterbacks, they are going to be deep in quarterback, but there is I'm not sure that if anyone realized it, but Tyler Cherry is not currently on the IU football roster. This came from Zach Osterman, but he'll serve as a student coach through the upcoming Indiana football season during his recovery from a knee injury suffered in the build-up to the college football playoff game against Notre Dame last month. Jerry will not be on the roster in that time as he is medically unable to participate in football activity. He can return for 2026 if able, it says. Now, man, so I'm not sure how serious that was, but that sounds serious enough to keep you out. So wishing him luck. But if you're wondering why, and I have been, why Indiana had been so intent on quarterbacks, but that gives you a little indication. Although they do have Alberto Mendoza in the on deck circle behind his brother Fernando Mendoza, the Cal transfer. We'll talk more about all this with Coach Shannon Griffith when he joins us. But yeah, this is probably something a lot of people didn't know. But of course, originally from oh my goodness, Center Grove High School. Couldn't think of it. I knew where it was, but yeah, he that was kind of quiet, a little quiet thing there. Didn't know about that one, but Indiana should be pretty set on quarterback, and they recently had a visit from the number 8 quarterback in the country for the 2026 class, Brody McWhorter. And it seems like things went very well over the weekend. He is ranked number 8 by Rivals in their 250. The visit definitely went great, McWhorter told the Hoosier.com. I left the building impressed on the overall attitude on the staff and what winning means to them. He's a Georgia native. He's been building a strong rapport with the Indiana coaching staff since reopening his recruitment following his junior season at Cass High School in Kingston, Georgia. The coaches always emphasize and make sure I know how much of a priority I am for them, McWhorter said. They love my film and think I'm a guy that can come in and play early. Well, that's going to be a battle, without question. Well, welcome to another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Thursday. Appreciate everybody joining us. As always, looking forward to another fun day. And a little slow start there, unexpectedly, but plenty to talk about. Bronny James, boy, he had his first extensive minutes in the NBA. It didn't go well. Reggie Miller is heading to NBC as their lead analyst on the NBA when it returns to NBC coming up. Evan Mayakawa says this freshman class is the best since 2014. And some sad news as well. Several figure skaters were on a plane that crashed yesterday in the Washington, D.C. area. Figure skaters, their coaches, and family members were passengers on an American Airlines jet that collided with an Army helicopter near Ronald Reagan National Airport in D.C. and crashed into the Potomac River yesterday. U.S. Figure Skating said the skaters were returning from a developmental camp that showed the U.S. Figure Skating Championships over the weekend in Wichita, Kansas. U.S. Figure Skating can confirm that several members of our skating community were sadly on board American Airlines Flight 5342, which collided with a helicopter yesterday evening in D.C. U.S. Figure Skating said in a statement, "We are devastated by this unspeakable tragedy and hold the victims' families closely in our hearts." U.S. Figure Skating did not identify any of the members of its team that were on board of that flight. That carried 60 passengers, 4 crew members, while an Army official said 3 soldiers were on board the helicopter. The airplane collided with the helicopter while attempting to land, prompting a large search and rescue operation in the Potomac River. Washington Fire Chief John Donnelly said this morning that it is not believed that there are any survivors, unfortunately, and that efforts have shifted to a recovery operation. Donnelly said 27 bodies have been recovered from the airplane and 1 from the helicopter. So that's very, very, very sad news. I mean, anytime something like that happens, it's very sad. But also there were, apparently Russian figure skaters on that flight as well. So, man, very sad to see that. Our hearts and prayers and thoughts out with all of those families. Anytime you see something like that happen it involves a sports team, it's just generally 100 times the tragedy because it tends to wipe a large group out. And so, man, really, really sad there. Indiana football is continuing in its recruiting efforts. And like I said, I can't remember. I was muted earlier, and I don't know if you heard of me talking about Tyler Cherry or not, but not on the football schedule or roster right now because of knee surgery, and he's going to be coaching. And Indiana hosted the number 8 quarterback in the 2026 class, Brody McWhorter. Indiana's making inroads here. And that's the kind of stuff that Indiana's going to continue to do. And you have to. If you're going to continue and stay a competitor, if you want to compete in the Big Ten year in, year out, boy, howdy, you have to recruit at the top of the food chain. And I'm not saying Indiana is going to, encroach on something like Ohio State, because let's face it, they've got a $20 million payroll right now just for football. Indiana doesn't have something like that. And neither do a lot of teams. But they're going to get better and better. They're definitely going to elevate their talent from the level they had last year, and pretty successful season in 2024. So that is good news for Hoosier football fans as that continues to roll on. And you've got Brian Haynes, the defensive coordinator, signed to a new deal to keep him locked in. And I think that he wants to be here. Pretty sure that he does. So that is always helpful as well. Of course, Friday night, the big clash between the Indiana Hoosiers and the Purdue Boilermakers in West Lafayette. That is coming. That is, that's Indiana's in a tough spot there. Are they ready to get after it? We'll see, because they're going to have to when you travel to West Lafayette. Not only you're playing your arch rival, they're playing pretty well right now. And the worst part is they're playing well with very good guard play. And that is been a kryptonite to Indiana this year. Their three-point shooting is out of this world. Both Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer just knocking it down like you can't believe. Between the two, they're shooting over 40%, I believe. We had the numbers up here yesterday. But Fletcher Lawyer, very efficient, hitting like 42 of 95, something like that. Pretty efficient. He's in the 40 percentile range. A little surprised that he has not gotten up more three-point shots than Braden Smith has. But Braden Smith he's put up like 30 more three-pointers. He's the guy that's got to keep an eye on. Somebody's got to stay locked on Braden Smith the whole time. You better be trailing him and moving, because it is going to be something that'll make you pay if you don't. He's moving because he's looking for a shot. Something that you don't see on Indiana's offense. Watch a lot of teams, but watch Friday night. Watch Purdue. Watch Fletcher Lawyer. Watch Braden Smith. Watch the movement that you get, and then watch Indiana's movement. It's really frustrating for fans because there just isn't movement that is geared towards getting off good three-point shots. We all know everything runs through the middle. And the three-point shots are just when they happen to come. It's not. It just doesn't seem to be with purpose. Russell thinks that Big Ten basketball needs an infusion of good, experienced coaching, or the same will be repeated next season and the next. Well, yeah, they've got some good coaches. I mean, Tom Izzo on his way out, probably, in the waning parts of his career, but Mick Cronin and Brad Underwood. But you don't. But that is a good point. Where is the level of coaching in the Big Ten right now? I mean, Dusty May is pretty good, but he's still learning at this level. You've got Matt Painter. I'm trying to think as I go down through. Yeah, there's not. You don't have the success factor in the Big Ten coaching wise. I mean, look at Iowa is the definition of mediocrity. Now, I know Indiana fans get a little upset, but you want to talk about mediocrity. That's Iowa basketball. Hey, let's take a quick break. We'll get Coach Shannon Griffith on the hook and talk some football. And then we'll come back to basketball as well, of course. I know you all couldn't stand it if we didn't. Don't worry. We've got it all coming to you from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Thursday. Back with more right after this.
At Ben Davis Chevrolet and Ben Davis Ford in Auburn, we're your one-stop shop for all of your automotive needs. We have the area's best selection of over 300 vehicles, including new cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs. Plus a huge selection of pre-owned vehicles in stock. And if we don't have what you're looking for, we'll find it for you. We also have top-of-the-line service and parts, plus a collision repair center, and we're competitively priced on everything. For sales, service, collision, parts, and more, we do it all. Come see us today or visit us online at BenDavisChevrolet.com and BenDavisFord.com.
Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer. If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Realty at cheryl@IndyHomePros.com or 317-701-0838. 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore help you find the home you want today. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum, Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company's studios on this Thursday, joined now by our good friend Coach Shannon Griffith, and trying to get him here. Oh, I thought I had him in there. There we go.
Hey,
you've kind of spruced your little studio up there, it looks like.
well,
Let there be light.
a little. Am I bright? Too bright? There we go.
No, not at all. I just
My main camera is not working for some reason because my computer updated. So I'm assuming because it had updated this Mac computer, I'll have to find another update for cameras. So I'm using the trusty old FaceTime camera, which in itself is pretty good. So
ain't bad, man. It ain't bad. I was talking earlier. A lot of people didn't know this, and it could kind of slip by me, but Tyler Cherry not on the IU football roster, and is going to be what did that story say? He's going to be like a kind of a coach this year while he's going through that. So he will serve as a student coach through the upcoming Indiana football season. So that's a substantial knee injury there. That's not your old. That's just not a simple ACL. I mean, that must have been
May have been
a
something
tear
like,
of some kind.
could have been something to the effect like my son had, where you get nerves involved in the equation with that. Now, I had not seen that as of this morning, but of course I just grabbed my cup of coffee. So I know Jameer Johnson is no longer on the roster either. He played about 12 games at corner for them last year.
Yeah.
He's no longer on the roster either. The only reason I could think of them removing him from the roster is it's similar to being put on IR.
I think it saves it will save a year of eligibility.
Well, it's that too, but it's about saving. He's not occupying a spot on the quote unquote official roster because that's all being limited on what they can or can't have. So that's what I'm guessing. So I look at that as like them putting him on IR, and they know it's not going to be a easy transition for him with whatever knee problems he has or what that extent of it. So it'd be good to know what that is. Whether we get to know what it is probably slim to none, but I hope he's in a position to bounce back from it. I'd hate for him to lose his entire career over something that happened during the championship week or the playoff week practice, because that was all that was told. He had done something to his knee in the practice leading up to the Notre Dame game.
Yeah, it was a little bit surprising, but it that kind of answered something. I was wondering why Indiana had really been. It seemed like you could kind of tell they were going at quarterbacks, and I'm like, what? Or I said, man, they're pretty full, stocked up on quarterbacks. Why are they continuing to add these guys? And now that kind of answers that question as to why, because one of their more experienced backups will not be available. So that leads them down to does that leave the Mendoza brothers as 1 and 2?
Well, you got the Grant Wilson kid that's coming in from Old Dominion, which he's a pretty good football player. He faced Coach Cignetti when he was at James Madison, so they're fully aware of what he can do. He had his best game against Coach Cignetti and Brian Haynes' defense. I think he threw for over 300 yards. So he provides an interesting dynamic in the room of competition. And then the one thing that Alberto would have on both of them is the fact that he's been there for a year. So he's, grounded in the system of what Coach Shanahan is like and what, the playbook and things of that magnitude. So I would imagine we're going to get a good, true, old-fashioned spring battle to see who comes out as the number one quarterback heading into the season. All fingers are kind of pointing towards Fernando being that guy. He's the guy they truly went after, and probably had to put some good money together for him because Georgia was kicking the tires on him, and there were some other schools that wanted him, Power 5 programs. So it wasn't an easy proposition just because his brother was there.
Yeah, and but they did get that done, and it's a very, very important piece. As Indiana, it's a lot more relaxing when your centerpiece is set and you can move out from there and set everything up around them. And Indiana is going to be going into next season in a better position than they did the previous season. They're going to have an upgrade in talent. I'm not saying this is a gigantic upgrade, but it's an upgrade in talent. And so I've said already, I expect them to be a better team next year than they were this past season.
Well, they've definitely got more of the power four type of talent as opposed to a year ago, but that was mostly because of James Madison kids coming in. They're in pretty good position with these two offensive linemen from Notre Dame, which would be a huge steal for them to get one of them, let alone the chance to get two of them, because that would bolster the offensive line in many ways than one. And we know what the issues and problems that Indiana's faced through the years. It's depth at that position. And so I think it's a good sign that they got a chance there. But yeah, I think they're going to have a good group of kids. They got 14 of the freshmen, the 25 class coming in. They're already on campus working in the program. So they're getting well acclimated to what it's like to be an Indiana football player, both on and off the field. And then, of course, you're going to have your returning players and influx of the portal guys. So I think they'll have close to 90 players in spring ball, all said and be told, because of these 14 kids already in from the 25 class. So they'll have the vast majority of their team come spring practice. So it's going to be interesting. And, like I said, football as a whole will be interesting again this spring with everything that's happening around it. I don't know if you saw the Michigan letter, and they're challenging the NCAA. And I know the NCAA alleges 9 games that they quote unquote stole the signs. And you know what Michigan's response was?
We only did it for 8.
Yeah.
That was a complete guess, but I'm like, of course.
I mean,
we did not cheat in 9 games. We only cheated in 8.
How can you use that as a response to their response is that the NCAA is overreaching in this matter, and that sign stealing is a part of the game. Well, and they already admitted that they had some people in attendance at games. They admitted that as well. I mean, what the heck's going on? I mean, so keep your eyes and ears to what's happening there, because that one will be very interesting. I think it plagued them all last year heading into the season with everything that was hanging over their head. They won the national championship, had a bunch of graduations, and they had this laying over their head. Well, now it's not gone away, and it's going to be an interesting situation to see what all happens. But I like where Indiana's at. I do. I think Coach Cignetti has improved what he has on campus. I think retaining Brian Haynes as the defensive coordinator and having to basically ante up in that regard, I think he'll probably be in the 2-5 range, if not more, just because of what was out there in the marketplace when you had Ohio State, Penn State, Notre Dame all looking for defensive coordinators. And I guarantee you his name is at the top of the list on a bunch of them.
Absolutely. And now the thing is, Indiana's schedule takes a huge jump next year, not at home, but on the road. All their 3 toughest games of the season are all road games.
Yeah.
If Indiana could win one of those 3,
they'd be
doing the college football playoffs.
Yeah. Well, again,
Can you believe I just made that statement?
I know.
With a straight face.
Yeah, they're going to throw you in the nutty house again.
Straight face.
Until they prove the right.
Without batting an eye.
That's right. I think, with the way Kurt Cignetti approaches each and every week, I came to appreciate, from his perspective as a former head coach and what he does and how he handles it and what is expected and things of that nature. He lets, he really doesn't care who's on the schedule. I mean, he's only concerned about his team and getting them prepared to be the best that they can be. And that starts now in the winter. And he's more concerned about guys not gaining weight or guys that need to gain weight and all those things as most of anything. But, yes, I do think they have the ability to go in and shock any of those teams that they're playing on the road next year. Will it be a tough road test? No question. Will they be underdogs? Yes, probably in all three. But I do think it's bound time that Indiana steps up and surprises somebody on the road in a big time game to assert that, Curt Cignetti is here for the real thing. And it's just not a one-off scenario.
Well, they have to. They have to, after making the CFP this season and then their exit after their exit having their qualifications questioned by so many people so loudly. It actually was a little ridiculous. Yeah. And I think everybody knew that afterwards, but it was like a bunch of people throwing tantrums and then a week later realizing, oh, that probably wasn't right, but let's not bring it back up. I'm not going to apologize for it. But they have to win one of those 3 games to me. Otherwise, they're an average team. They'll beat the teams they're supposed to beat, and not anybody. They have to, whether you want to call it overachieving or not, they have to beat one of those 3 teams, in my opinion, next year to be taken seriously. Otherwise, which again, I can't believe I'm saying this with a straight face, because prior to 1 year ago, if we were looking at the potential of Indiana being 9-3, people will be jumping up and down with joy, jumping up and down. I'm sitting here saying, well, if they don't do that, do this, they're going to be an average team. On one hand, it's very comical, trust me, but that's how quickly things can change now. And it has, for Indiana's good fortune. So that's a good thing. But 9-3 is a bottom for me next year. Yeah. And I think 10-2 is the mark that they have to shoot for, because I think 10-2 gets them back to the CFP. Because if you have a win over one of those 3 teams on the road, that automatically makes your season better than this season was, in my opinion, because you're going to have that solid win to go along with 9 other wins, and a 10-2 team in the Big Ten with a good solid road win. It's going to be kind of hard to keep them out.
Yeah.
Unless I think it's just going to be hard to keep them out, period.
Well, you got to figure their opportunities at Iowa being one of those 3 I think you're discussing.
I think that's maybe the best opportunity. Yeah. But Iowa is going to be better next year too, because they brought that quarterback in from South Dakota.
Yeah. Well, everybody's going to be good because they're all going to address their needs, and they're also going to take what Cignetti does in terms of looking for talent that's got a proven track record, rather than wishing and hoping that this 4-star that was at Alabama can come in here and play. And if they find out he is not capable of playing. So I think the fact that, in Iowa, I think then Oregon and Penn State were the 3, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Oregon is one. Yeah. Oregon, Penn State, and Iowa are the 3 road games. Yeah.
And look, I don't think, those 3 games will be tough. And you already talked about the schedule and how it's different. And look, this will be
they have a home game against Illinois as well. So that's a team that I've seen on a list, teams that did not make the CFP this year that you think is going to make them next year. That was on somebody's list. Yeah. And with good reason. They were right there. They just didn't get talked about, mainly because Indiana took all the attention away.
Took the wind out of the room.
It did, because Illinois had a couple of good wins. but they had a couple of wonky games. That game against Purdue where they allowed like 40 second-half points and almost coughed that game up in overtime, that was ridiculous.
Well, and you're right. That was the type of team that they were, but they're good because they got a really good quarterback that's coming back. And when you have that ability to have a returning starter there amongst what they put around him, you're definitely going to be a team that's going to be able to challenge, because it always starts at the quarterback position. You have to have good quarterback play in today's game. You just can't get by with a quarterback that's going to hand it off 80% of the time and try to bully people up and down the field. It's just not not even a possibility in today's game. You have to have the game where you're spreading out and trying to put defenses in challenging positions. So, but the schedule next year, and like I said, I think I said this last week, maybe when we were talking too, this will be the toughest step for Indiana this season, going from what they did this year, where they've changed everybody's opinion of Indiana, especially the Indiana faithful, that they're going to have to make that next step, which is a consistency of their play. And like you said, 9-3 will be still good, but in some respects, it isn't as good as 11-2. You know what I mean? So there will be that's going to be a tough step for them. But again, with Cignetti's approach to things and how he does it, he's a great leader. He's got good coaches in and around him. I like the hire of Whitmer from the NFL, but he's, a kid that played at Illinois, so he's aware of the Big Ten and what he'll bring to the table. And then, of course, what Brian Haynes was able to do, that is in itself a plus for Indiana. Yes, the Indy offensive lineman was, I think it's Rocco something. I can't remember the kid's name.
Rocco.
But
that's all you got to say. Rocco. Hey, Rocco, get over here.
The last report I got on all that was that it was down to 2 teams. It was Indiana. He canceled a visit to Mississippi and said his recruiting's over, that he's going to make his decision. And Indiana is one of the choices that he had between them. And I can't remember the other school's name.
Yeah, when you cancel visits, that's a great thing. As long as you're not the visit that's canceled.
Right. Ole Miss can have enough cash inside the plane.
So you got that going for you. But that would be, boy, landing that dude would be a coup de grace for Indiana. They that's what they need. That's almost like landing a quarterback now. It's just one of those premier positions, and it's hard to find really good, talented linemen. They're at a premium, man. You just don't see them bouncing around as much.
Yeah. One of the names, Pat Coogan, who was the Irish's starting center this past year. And I do believe the other gentleman's name was the starting right guard, Rocco Spindler. So you got Rocco, Alberto, and Fernando potentially as a word diagram
on the offense.
Yeah. But those two, those are the two that Indiana has a firm opportunity to get both, or maybe just one. But if they would get both of them, it would be a huge steal.
Oh, it would be gigantic for Indiana's offense. An offense that was prolific last year, but flawed. It still did not have the ability to handle the running game when they stepped up. And that's an issue. We just talked about those road games they'll have next year. There's no time more so than they will need them than those games on the road, when you need a solid game, when you need the ability to make an 80-yard drive to sustain a drive in a rough environment. You have to have a very good offensive line.
Yeah, and these two bring size. They're both 6'5" and 300 plus pounds. So it's one of those things that, Indiana needs to bolster upsides, in terms of what they've got playing along the front line, because you got to have the big boys to counter the big boys that you're going to go against on defense each and every week.
Yep. Only one. Brian's got it right. Only one football game left this season.
I know.
No, that's not true. Oh, don't forget the Pro Bowl.
Well, flag football Pro Bowl.
Yeah. Isn't that the craziest thing? There is no all-star game that has gone through more iterations than the Pro Bowl. It used to be a real game that people actually played it real. Then it became a joke. Nobody cared about it. And then they've done so many different things with it.
Well, they got too many guys canceling out of it because of
I know,
fear of injury. And all of a sudden, that's why they're gone to the flag football, which doesn't make any sense. I just say cancel it.
And someone mentioned, I think it was Fred, that been a while since an Indiana sports talk show was talking football in January. First of all, there are no other Indiana sports talk shows that I'm aware of. Bada bing!
Yeah, that's right. But it's interesting, though, isn't it? I mean, just what has all transpired in a year, 365 days, how it's changed not only the perception, but the momentum that Indiana football has got from this hire of Curt Cignetti.
Well, and not only that, I'll tell you how it is this tells you all you need to know. Who could fire up an Assembly Hall crowd more, Mike Woodson or Curt Cignetti?
I liked what he did, man. I like the fact that his first words out of his mouth was thanking those in attendance, including the students, and coming to games, and the importance of having them at games made a difference in how the game environment was and how difficult it was on the opposing team. And he's established that now, and he wants that each and every week. And I think they're doing a great job of trying to promote that this off season. I just saw that he's doing something in February where kids can ask questions, or anybody can come into attendance and ask questions of Coach Cignetti. So I think he's doing what he needs to do to endear himself, not only to the regular faithful, but those that are there as students, and hoping to make them understand their presence through 4 quarters is of vital importance to them, no matter who they're playing at home.
Yeah, Sean says that Curt Cignetti was desperately needed for Indiana athletics, hard work, dedication to success, and relentless recruiting. Think about it right now. With the shape of Indiana men's basketball not in a good place, it probably has a lame duck coach. Indiana women's basketball not having the season that fans have been accustomed to. It's not horrible, but it's not, what they're used to. They're not ranked in the top 25. And so if it weren't for football, what would IU fans have to be happy about right now?
They would, the decibel level of noise would go up exponentially if there was not anything to be overly high on of expectations. And that's what football gives you. Football gives you that kickoff to the new school year. It gives you all the excitement to head into the winter seasons of teams that are playing, and they are the footprint, the front porch of any college or university throughout the country. And when people like the scenery on the front porch, man, they're going to come and look. And that's what Curt Cignetti's been able to do. And that has increased the monetary aspects of things in terms of the school. And that's why you have to have a healthy football program.
Big time needed to be in it. They've got it. We've got to take a break from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. Coach Shannon Griffith is with us. We'll be back for more on the other side right after these messages. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road rye, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Ugly Grouper, located on beautiful Anna Marie Island, Florida, is the place to be, and not just because they have unforgettable meals, including locally sourced seafood. The Ugly Grouper has your favorite craft beers and cocktails, along with live music every day. The Ugly Grouper is family-friendly, able to host private parties, and has the biggest grouper you've ever seen. The Ugly Grouper is the place to be on Anna Marie Island, Florida. Tell them Indiana Sports Beat sent you. Go to theuglygrouper.com for more information. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com.
At Ben Davis Chevrolet and Ben Davis Ford in Auburn, we're your one-stop shop for all of your automotive needs. We have the area's best selection of over 300 vehicles, including new cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs. Plus a huge selection of pre-owned vehicles in stock. And if we don't have what you're looking for, we'll find it for you. We also have top-of-the-line service and parts, plus a collision repair center, and we're competitively priced on everything. For sales, service, collision, parts, and more, we do it all. Come see us today or visit us online at bendavischevrolet.com and bendavisford.com.
Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Thursday. Glad to have you along. Joined as always on Thursdays by Coach Shannon Griffith from Who's Your Tailgate, talking some football as the Big Ten season next year, man. Ohio State, they'll be looking to repeat, but I was talking with Rick Bozich yesterday and about the IU basketball situation with Mike Woodson and all of that. People are ready for change. But the funny thing is, Ohio State Buckeye fans, many of them were not only ready, but screaming from the top of their lungs for a change this season before they go out and win the national championship. So fans, that's what I'm like. You know what, Indiana basketball fans, I understand your frustration, but I the one thing I keep saying is, for those of you that are looking for change and want change, you have to understand you're going to have to experience a season like this. They don't fire successful winning coaches. Therefore, if that is to happen, it's going to be because of the opposite. So,
Yeah.
just endure the deal, man. Just you got to ride it out.
The thing with Ryan Day at Ohio State and him not being able to beat Michigan in the last 4 years, especially a team that of this year that really struggled, and they went into the Big House and beat them 13-10. The outcry, like you said, was fierce. And even through the media, it was fierce. I mean, ESPN was, morning show was talking who are the right fits for Ohio State. I mean, they were, already picking out a new coach before anything was ever said and done. And, I know Herb Street had pointed that out on air, and there was some infighting there. So, yeah, sometimes in that situation, though, it wasn't warranted in the fact of looking at the bigger picture. And I think everyone knew that was in the administration. If they can get things right, there's a chance that they could run the table. And they did decisively run the table. And, they want Ryan Day to be mayor now. So, but I see a lot of comparisons to, I think it was last year, Ohio State in midseason fired their head coach, and things kind of turned on the dime for Ohio State. I think they end up winning like 10 straight after that. So I think there's a comparison that with the talent that Indiana's basketball has right now, or the perceived talent, we should say, that a change would maybe bolster that talent into, playing better, winning games. And I still don't know how they lost the Maryland game. And we used to say that about football. I don't understand how they lost that game. And then you watch the game against Maryland and you're thinking, how did they, and you just had that feeling that something was going to happen to the point where Maryland was going to find a way to win. And Indiana was trying to find a way to not lose. And that's the thing that always plagues teams that are in bad situations. They're playing not to lose rather than playing to win and being aggressive on both ends of the, court.
Without question. And you got a couple of programs. Indiana basketball, of course, in the situation, but a lot of people talking about North Carolina. They're in pretty much the same boat, because their coach is Hubert Davis, a UNC alum, and it's just not working out for them either. Yeah. They'll probably make a change, because you cannot. These are no longer the days where you can just give a coach that long, because it doesn't take that long. Again, I hate to keep making using him as an example, but Chris Beard down at Ole Miss, big win last night over Texas. He won from day one. Rick Bozich said again yesterday when he was with me that, but of course I've said this as well. You get the right coach, you win now, especially in the age of the portal. We just saw Kurt Cignetti do it. He did it, but he did it because for a number of reasons. He knew who to bring in, what players that he needed to run his system. He has a system, first of all. That's the most important thing. He has a system that has proved to be successful. None of that is in basketball. There is no system in place that I can see. There's nothing nothing that has any proof of concept is there. The players, there's no rhyme or reason to the pieces. There are too many square holes.
Trying to force them
too many round holes for square pegs. Yeah, and it ain't working.
And that's why sometimes when you see what a team brings in, and you get all, especially in basketball, and you see the number of guys that they bring in, and Indiana brought a lot of quote unquote name guys in and spent a lot of money bringing those guys in. And you find out that you're all hyped about what they have, only to find out that isn't meshing at all. And there's too much disarray at times, even on the court, or uncertainty. So it's not always about bringing in top guys or guys that have a number of stars by them. It's bringing in the right guys that fit your program and what you're wanting. And that's what Sig does great. He was able to do that. I like the idea that he approaches it. He wants guys that has film to be evaluated, not, wishing and hoping, but he wants film on guys. And he would not have brought the Old Dominion quarterback in if he didn't think he was going to be able to come in and compete and at least bring a steady presence to that room in terms of experience and an older guy in that regard. So that's the big key component there. Oh, and before I forget, April 19th is the spring game with a noon kickoff for you that need to know. That would be the weekend prior to the Little 5 week. And this year they're staying away from, being in that scenario. So it'll be,
if I had to guess, my guess would be because they hope that this is
the kickoff
going to be something of its own now, where before it's just been a side dish.
Yeah, right. And I think it'll be good. I mean, the other night when I had my show going on, I encourage fans that are within the area, if there is ever an open practice to the public, especially in the spring, go watch a practice. Go watch what it takes day in, day out to become a top 10, top tier program. Watch the efficiency of practice and how coaches coach, and watch Sig and how he approaches it. And if they do have some open practices and fans are able to be there, I would encourage you to go to a practice. And then of course the spring game is, as we know, it's one of those things that I think even last year, Sig brought the element of competition to that. It was kind of surprising how much they did in that spring game, especially from a schematic point of view.
Yeah. And I'm looking forward next year to seeing some differences from what will this offense be like? Completely different quarterback, not really a different style quarterback. Everybody thinks that Fernando Mendoza is this big time dual threat quarterback. He can run, but he's a thrower. He's not a runner. Yeah. Mostly. He threw for over, you don't throw for 3,000 yards, not throwing the ball a lot.
Yeah. So, well, that's Cal. Cal throws it 50, 60 times a game.
He can run. He's just, that's not where he makes his bones.
Yeah. Well, I think this is where Sig and Shanahan, and even when Tino's with them, now it's Whitmer, is taking your system and molding it to what fits your quarterback or quarterbacks. I definitely will think there will be some areas where the launch point in the pocket will change. And what I mean by that, Indiana last year, because of Curtis's knee, was predominantly a straight drop back team and rarely did any type of naked bootlegs or roll the pocket and, trying to change the launch point on a defense. So I do see some of that maybe entering the fray. But it will be about RPOs and everything that they can do with that aspect of everything.
Yeah, and the running game, we talk about this offensive line. If they are able to beef it up like we've been talking, Indiana had pretty good balance last year, but it kind of waned a bit toward the end. But of course, that's when their tougher games were, and we saw them trying to rely on the pass. The one thing I did not like is when they got into those situations, they did not seem to have their own out, whether that be just, changing the plays to quicker pass. Stop. If you're not able to protect the quarterback as successfully as you wanted to, do something different, whether it's sprint outs, roll outs, quick pitches, quick tosses. I just didn't. That's the one thing I was a little mesmerized by, that we did not see more of that in those situations.
Yeah. If there was one thing I was maybe critical of, I thought they lost a little bit of their creativity as the year went on, where they were introducing some different things that maybe teams hadn't seen inside the red zone that led to them getting touchdowns, those type of things. And they didn't run enough crossing routes against man-to-man coverage. You cannot always set up and just say, we're going to throw the back shoulder ball every game that people play man press on you. I mean, I get it. You're going to take your shots here and there, but you can't rely on that to be the end all be all to your approach to how do you attack man coverage. And I do think that's where they lost some of their creativity as the year went on, and especially against Notre Dame, that they didn't have an answer to those questions and how we're going to beat this and get the ball in and out of his hands and those type of things that you're talking about. So those are the things they're going to have to work on. They're going to have to work on the man beaters and man pressures, because that's what defenses are doing now, especially if you're not going to run the quarterback consistently enough. They are going to play man to man and bring the free safety in as a kind of a robber that can play both the pass and also be that eighth man in the box.
Coach Shannon Griffith with us on the program.
Good talk. Good talk.
So we've got to take a break. Back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios right after this. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road rye, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Realty at cheryl@indiehomepros.com or 317-701-0838. 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore help you find the home you want today. Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33 Pizza. Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Thursday, Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle as always. Hope you are having a great day, a great week. Looking forward to having Chris Denari on in a little while in regards to that Pacer game last night. I know a lot of you guys have been commenting on that on the Andy Moore Honda hotline. I've been trying to hold off on that to get to it, but yeah, we'll talk about that when Chris joins us here in a little bit. College basketball rolling on last night, as we talked about. But other things, Oakland basketball coach Greg Campy suspended for a game. Had a little engagement with an official. You can't little confrontation that came a little too close. 69-year-old. He'll miss his next home game against Green Bay and Doug Gottlieb. How about that? So got that going for him, which is nice. But some scores last night as well. I mentioned the Ole Miss game. Auburn, #1 Auburn. They go on the road, get an easy win over LSU, 87-74. Boy, How about this SEC battle last night? Alabama goes on the road to Starksville to number 4 Alabama, taking on number 14 Mississippi State. And what a heck of a game. Alabama, 44 points in both halves. They win that game 88-84. That would have been a fun game to watch. I hate that I missed that. Houston, number 6 Houston, they grind you. I mean, low scoring, 63-49 win over West Virginia. Boy, that I guarantee you, when you get beat by Houston, you're done. You're tired. They're relentless. Another great game in the Big Ten last night. How about the Maryland Terrapins? Fresh off of their miraculous win at Indiana. Well, they hosted number 17 Wisconsin, another future Indiana's next opponent after Purdue. They're able to get out of Wisconsin 76-68. Now 17-5 on the season, 7-4 in the league. Maryland climbing up the standings. Texas Tech a win at home. Ole Miss, I mentioned that. Chris Beard has the Rebels at 16-5, number 23 in the country, 72-69 over Texas. Big win for Chris Beard and the Rebels. The Beards, man, can you imagine if they hired Chris Beard? I think they would hand out all those fake beards for everyone to grab onto. But let's see. I'm trying to figure out if we should take a quick break and bring on Chris Denari. I think that we'll do that and bring him in, and we'll talk about that wild Pacer game last night up in Detroit, of all places. Perfect. 6 technicals, a couple I think there was a flagrant, 2 called, and just nothing, just another typical night. But we're back in 2 minutes from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. Ugly Grouper, located on beautiful Anna Maria in Florida, is the place to be, and not just because they have unforgettable meals, including locally sourced seafood. The Ugly Grouper has your favorite craft beers and cocktails, along with live music every day. The Ugly Grouper is family-friendly, able to host private parties, and has the biggest grouper you've ever seen. The Ugly Grouper is the place to be on Anna Maria Island, Florida. Tell them Indiana Sports Beat sent you. Go to theuglygrouper.com for more information. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Heart Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back to the Heart Truth Distilling Company studios on this Thursday, joined now by the great Chris Denari, voice of the Indiana Pacers. And I just mentioned they played Detroit last night and had another wild one, and I mistakenly said it was up in Detroit, and I knew it wasn't because I remember looking at the picture and seeing their home white jerseys on. I wonder why I couldn't. There we go. Chris in there. Chris Denari joins us now. That was cool. I texted Chris, asked him, did you get a technical last night? You may have been the only one, but kind of a wild one.
It was sort of like Oprah Winfrey, when she does her show, when she did her show, and you get a car and you get a car. It was sort of like you get a technical and you get a technical. It really dates back to 2 weeks ago when the Pacers beat the Pistons in Detroit, and Isaiah Stewart was not happy. Got really chippy, and that's all right. I like rivalries. I like intensity, and you weren't sure where that intensity would be last night. Well, it happened at an early stage, and the Pacers jumped on them. It was 18-4. They had a 16-point lead early, and things went south for Detroit. They're much improved. They're just a game under 500. They've won 23 games. It's been a complete turnaround from a team that won 14 games last year. So they play with a little bit of bravado, but it was a good win for the Pacers, especially, Jim, when you think about coming back from Paris. You played 2 games overseas, a heavy travel situation. I thought the Pacers responded very well, and Detroit kept fighting back. I don't want to say fighting back literally, but fighting back in the game. And the Pacers always had an answer. And I think the other thing, Jim, last night, they played without Benedict Mathurin and Andrew Nembhard. The Pacers were without 2 starters. So it was good to see the team get a win, keep it rolling. They had the best record in the Eastern Conference in the month of January at 10-2, currently 5th in the East, just a half game behind Milwaukee. So it was a fun night. It did not feel like a January Wednesday game. It had some playoff intensity. The fans were ratcheted up, and all the things that went on just created a pretty good home court advantage for the Pacers.
Well, and that's what you want to see from a team, because if you can get that, even though it's late January, still a long ways away from the end of the season. And if you can get that in the middle of the season, man, that's a team that is building something, it seems. If you can carry, because this is probably the hardest time. You're halfway into the season, you're kind of maybe getting a little tired or whatever. But if you were, Indiana seems to be finding their stride right now, and there's nothing a team wants more than, you don't want to peak too soon, but to start peaking and start rolling, and that seems to be what has happened with this team.
Yeah, and I think, last night showed just how deep this team is. You're playing without 2 starters, 2 significant players in Nembhard and Mathurin, and Ben Shepherd steps into the starting lineup, hits 4 threes. TJ McConnell was terrific off the bench, especially in the first half. That's been the great strength of this Pacers team. And then you rely on your 3 leaders. Pascal Siakam goes for a season-high 37. Tyrese Halliburton has 30. And Miles Turner has 24. So it was just an all-around great performance last night. Everybody that played, contributed, and was really good to see. And this is a team back in mid-December. I do this show with you every Thursday. They were floundering a little bit. They were 10-15. They were 10th or 11th in the Eastern Conference. Since that point, they've gone 16-5 over a 21-game stretch. Currently 5th in the East and just a half game behind Milwaukee. So it's been a really good run for this team, and they've got a chance to extend that on Saturday with the Atlanta Hawks at Gainbridge Fieldhouse.
And hopefully they can keep things rolling, because they're doing just that. And they've moved up the not only just held pat, but they have continued to slowly move up the conference standings and basically put themselves into a position where they're you're never locked into the playoffs this early on, but boy, they're in very, very good position. And you mentioned doing what they did last night without Benedict Mathurin. You got Thomas Bryant involved because he's the one that got decked in the back by Isaiah Stewart. So it fires him. I'm like, well, that's the wrong guy to mess with. Thomas is a big boy, 6'10", and whatever he weighs. I don't think I'd want that coming at me.
Yeah, both those guys are ironically from Rochester, New York. So there might be a little history there between Isaiah Stewart and Thomas Bryant. You know, I'm really happy for Thomas. He's done such a good job for the Pacers. And, you know, what's ironic, Jim, he's played 20 games, and the Pacers are 15-5 since he arrived. He's been everything that Indiana needed after they had the injuries early in the year to their backup centers and Isaiah Jackson and James Wiseman. And Thomas has stepped right in. I think over the last 10 or 11 games, he's averaging 10 points and 5 rebounds off the bench. He's just the consummate pro. He's had a really good career. You know, he was really playing well a number of years ago and then had the knee injury, and that sort of set him back a little bit. But he's been a wonderful addition to this Pacers team.
He sure seems to be, and he fit in just fine. And that's something else. When you make a trade, that person has to seamlessly work in to the lineup, or it could cause things not like the success the Pacers are having right now. And it has really been a very seamless transition, not just for him, but for everybody. And they've been able to move in and out of having certain guys throughout the year and not having certain guys so far throughout the year.
Yeah, I think they're learning more. I think early in the year when they had the injuries and the 2 backup centers went out, then you lost Aaron Nesmith, then Andrew Nembhard missed 14 games, and Ben Shepherd missed 10. So all of a sudden you had 3 of your top defenders and what we call connectors that were not on this team. You know, they were sitting on the bench in street clothes. And now I think even if they lose a guy for a game here or there, they're better able to adapt with their depth, and they understand what they're missing and what the next guy needs to provide. And so that's been really refreshing to see. You know, this is a team that a year ago made it to the Eastern Conference Finals and probably, you know, got there a little quicker than any of us thought. Kevin Pritchard, his staff, a number of years ago told us, look, this is a building process to get us to where we want to go. And everything worked last year. And I think that affected this team a little bit early this year. You have to understand success, and you have to understand how other teams view you. And I don't think the Pacers did a really good job of that early in the season. They've been much better now, and that's why they're playing so well.
Yeah, and they are doing just that. The question is whether or not they will be able to play at the top level. They've beaten the best teams in the conference, so we know that they can. But can they do that over the course of a series when they get to the end of the season? Do they have enough talent to do that? That will be the ultimate question, of course.
Yeah, no question. And, you know, that's where a lot of people talk. When you get to the postseason, games slow down a little bit. Coaches refine their rotations. But I think the great strength of a team, and I was reading Brian Windhorst from ESPN. He was over in Paris with the Pacers, and he said one of the great strengths of his team is its depth. And he goes, I'm not sure a lot of teams can handle that in the postseason, because the one thing that the Pacers have done, we saw it again last night, even without Nembhard and Mathurin, the Pacers constantly are picking up offenses full court. I mean, last night they created an 8-second violation with Miles Turner in the backcourt guarding a ball handler. It was a double team with Halliburton and Turner picking up about 3/4 court. And that's something you just don't see a lot of in the NBA because of the schedule, because of back-to-backs, 3 games in 4 days, 4 games in 5 days. So I think that's one of the great strengths of the Pacers. And Jim, this is something I think a year ago we would have never talked about. As the Pacers went 10-2 in January, they had the number 2 defense in the NBA, the number 2 defense in the month of January. So I think that's a really a strong credit to the coaching staff for getting this team to recognize that they have to be better defensively if they want to get to where they want to be. Last year, they were very good offensively and quite honestly won a lot of games because they outscored teams. Now, you can say last night they outscored Detroit 133-119. But for the better part of January, they have been an outstanding defensive team, and I think that will help them carry through the rest of the year.
A couple of players in the NBA from locally, Ware and Zach Edey, both having pretty good rookie seasons. Ware especially. He is really he's probably not far from being a starter, a permanent starter. If he didn't have Bam Adebayo playing in front of him. But man, what a good season for both. But Ware really having a great season so far.
Yeah, I think, there's been some talk that they could quite honestly pair him with Adebayo and go to a bigger lineup, because he's such a, he's developed that perimeter shot. He's shooting the three at a very good percentage since he's gotten this playing time. And if you look at somebody like Cleveland, they've got the two bigs in Evan Mobley and Jared Allen, and Mobley is one of those bigs that can step out and shoot the three. So it'll be fascinating to watch. And honestly, that helped the Pacers, because as Khalil Ware was playing more and more for Miami, there were no opportunities for Thomas Bryant, and that made him available in a trade for Indiana. So, Ware is playing very well. Zach Edey, I think a lot of us always felt that he would have a significant role in the NBA. I think he's refined his body. He's big, he's strong. He's even out there shooting some 3-point shots. So it's good to see those two big guys play well. The Pacers still have one more game with Memphis at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Edey did not play against the Pacers back earlier in the year. He was out with an ankle injury. And the Pacers also go to Miami at the end of February, and they'll see Khalil Ware there.
Yeah, the game has changed so much. These big guys now, you almost have to be able to shoot the three. There aren't that many that are really successful in the league. That's just kind of something you need to have in your arsenal. Not all of them do. Zach Edey is not a 3-point shooter. There are many others that are not 3-point shooters. I get that, but those that are, it offers that team an advantage for the very reason you just talked about, because if you're the team that has a guy that's not a 3-point shooter, that means if you can get a matchup on him and drag him away from the post, you're probably helping yourself in other ways as well.
Well, and it also makes you a more versatile player. I'm going to point at a Pacer player who is shooting a career best 41% from 3-point range, but is one of the best post-up players in the NBA right now. That's Pascal Siakam. I mean, it just makes you so versatile when you can shoot the three, but you can go down to the block and post up. And Pascal has had a sensational year. I'm hopeful that he will be announced as an All-Star reserve tonight. Again, the All-Star weekend is going to be much different. It's not East-West. It's a 4-team sort of tournament that's going to exist. But Pascal Siakam has definitely played well enough this year, averaging about 21 points and 7 rebounds, that he should be an Eastern Conference All-Star.
What is up next for you, sir?
Saturday, the Atlanta Hawks. It's an early start, 5 o'clock start at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. This weekend is a big WWE weekend. And so at Lucas Oil Stadium Saturday night, you have the Royal Rumble. Now, I'm not really one that follows WWE.
Can you smell what the Rock is cooking, Chris?
But I know how big it's going to be. And I will tell you that Tyrese Halliburton is a big WWE fan. They had a bobblehead last night that they gave out to fans with Tyrese and the WWE belt. And so that is Saturday. And then the Pacers on Sunday head out west for a 4-game trip. Starts in Utah on Monday, Portland on Tuesday, and then the Clippers on Thursday, and the Lakers next Saturday at Crypto.com. So then it's 2 more games the next week prior to the All-Star break, and then I'll have about a week off. So still a bunch of basketball to play before we get to the All-Star break in a couple of weeks.
Isn't the game Saturday at 5?
5 o'clock. Yeah, 5 o'clock, and then Royal Rumble at Lucas Oil Stadium. So downtown is going to be crazy on Saturday, because you'll have 17,000 in the building at Gainbridge Fieldhouse for Pacers Hawks, and the Royal Rumble will probably have 60,000 at Lucas Oil Stadium. So you're going to have close to 100,000 people downtown Indianapolis. And that's what makes our city so great, Jim. I mean, we see it during the Colts season, the Pacers season, Big Ten tournament, Big Ten football championship game. It's why we love sports in Indianapolis, and it's going to be hopping on Saturday.
I would imagine that Tyrese Halliburton will make a cameo appearance over at Lucas Oil Stadium that night.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll be involved in the Royal Rumble. I just hope he doesn't get thrown out of the ring. So we need to make sure Tyrese is well.
I've always wondered, because sometimes various stars of different sports get involved, and that's always my first thought. And I know everyone always says, it's fake. It's not fake. It is choreographed. But let me tell you, some of the stuff those guys do is far from fake.
No, yeah, you're right.
They know what they're doing, but they do something crazy. I'm like, there's no way. And heck, I would do that. And I remember when I was young and we were in high school and football, we always did that stuff. But it's wild. But man, there's not many things that you will get an NBA game to move times for in a town. That's crazy, but that's how big these events are when they come to a city. These WWE events are huge events, and that says a lot about the WWE, because they've been around for a long time, and to still command that kind of power is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, Tyrese Halliburton came into the building last night wearing a Stone Cold Steve Austin t-shirt. So like I said, it's going to be a great weekend. There's I think there's something in Gainbridge Fieldhouse tomorrow night. I think it's a full weekend of WWE in downtown Indianapolis. So, but looking forward to Pacers basketball on Saturday, and then see what Indiana can do on the road. They played so well on the road. They're 12-12 now. Remember at one point, Jim, they were 2-12 on the road, or 2-10 on the road, and they've won like 8 of their last 10 or 10 of their last 12 away from Gainbridge Fieldhouse. So that will be a significant road trip next week for the Pacers.
Craziness, brother. Enjoy it. How's the boys, and don't get thrown off over the top rope.
All right, I'll talk to you next week. Let's see. Next Thursday, I'll be in LA, so we'll have to figure out that's an early time. So we'll figure something out.
We'll get her done. Appreciate you, sir. Chris Denari, voice to the Indiana Pacers, joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We've got more coming up from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios right after this break. Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. Ugly Grouper, located on beautiful Anna Marie Island, Florida, is the place to be, and not just because they have unforgettable meals, including locally sourced seafood. The Ugly Grouper has your favorite craft beers and cocktails, along with live music every day. The Ugly Grouper is family-friendly, able to host private parties, and has the biggest grouper you've ever seen. The Ugly Grouper is the place to be on Anna Marie Island, Florida. Tell them Indiana Sports Beat sent you. Go to theuglygrouper.com for more information. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. while Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's Sour Mash Bourbons, Sweet Mash, and Hard Road Ryes, as well as their Cinnamon Vodka and the always popular Toasted Coconut Rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Thursday, day before Indiana and Purdue go at it tomorrow night up in West Lafayette on a Friday night Big Ten clash. It's the only Big Ten game on the docket tomorrow, as a matter of fact. So kind of taking the Hoosiers and the Boilermakers taking center stage for that game. So look forward to that and seeing how that turns out. Can the Hoosiers muster up a fight in that game to stay in it? No one expects them to win. That's a tough place to win for anybody, period. And Indiana not playing their best games right now on top of that. Last night, well, actually, this was not last night. This was a couple nights ago. Michigan State with a win. Kentucky went down to Tennessee. Made a deal with the devil. Got out of there with a 78-73 win. That was a fun game to watch. Just got to see that. Marquette came into Butler. Shaka Smart. And shocked the Bulldogs 78-69. Kansas, they held on against a Central Florida team, 91-87 at home. Man, that's coming off of a double overtime loss at home to Houston. Kansas left 15-5 on the season, 6-3 in the Big 12, though. They've kind of, they're a very, very good team, don't get me wrong, but not sure that they are a national title type of team. St. John's, Rick Pitino. He has the Johnnies at 18-3, people. They are 9-1 in the Big East. If you think coaching doesn't matter, give me a break. St. John's. He, I think, has a complete new roster as well, almost. Speaking of new rosters, Louisville, now 9-1 in the ACC. Win over Wake Forest, that was on Tuesday. I think Rick mentioned that yesterday. Last night, I think I mentioned the scores earlier from those, but there wasn't much going on. I think there was just two Big Ten games. Maryland over Wisconsin, I mentioned that one. Rutgers kind of finding themselves again. Man, big expectations for the Scarlet Knights with Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey, but they've kind of had some injuries and whatnot and just really slipped. They're 4-6 in the Big Ten, but they get a win at Northwestern, 79-72. Rutgers now 11-10 on the season. They're not going anywhere in the postseason. They're fighting to make it into the Big Ten tournament, to be honest with you. That's, don't forget, the bottom three teams, they don't get in. That's something new with these added teams from the Pac-12. And right now, if it ended today, Washington, Nebraska, who scalded Indiana, and Minnesota, well, Minnesota, Northwestern, Penn State, all tied at 3-7. So Indiana's biggest win still Penn State? They're 3-7 in the Big Ten at the halfway mark. Then you have Northwestern, like I said, 3-7, Minnesota 3-7. Indiana does not have a win over a tournament team yet. They have more opportunities coming up as Purdue, Wisconsin, Michigan State, Michigan, all on the immediate schedule as Indiana plays those top 4 teams in the Big Ten in their next 4 games. Maryland, like I said, they've jumped up. They're now in 4th place in the Big Ten. It's 7-4. They've won 4 straight, second only to the 13-game winning streak of the Spartans, who are now 9-0 in the conference still, 18-2 overall. I don't know if anybody can stop Sparty. I mean, I expect them to lose at some point, but they've almost made it halfway through the Big Ten season unblemished. Purdue's chasing them, hoping that they do get beat so they have a chance to catch up to them in the second half of this Big Ten season. But I don't expect Purdue to go through unscathed again. So it'll be interesting. Michigan has dropped a little bit. They're 7-2, but they haven't been playing quite as well as they had. You know, overtime loss to Minnesota, who, although they're playing better, Minnesota is an 11-10 team overall. They had another close game that they won, Michigan did. That may be an opportunity for Indiana. I know that that's going to be an awkward situation. I've talked about that numerous times because I expect the crowd, especially if between now and then Indiana goes to West Lafayette and takes an L, which should be expected. I mean, you know, unless Indiana gets beat by 30 or something, that's what you should expect. And then they go to Wisconsin. And while you cannot ever expect to lose. You have to always plan to win. If you expect to ever lose, then you're going to lose. But Indiana hasn't won there forever. Is this the crazy year? Because that's the kind of things that happen. Crazy things like that will happen, and then give someone a reason to hang on that as some kind of salvation, which it would be crazy to see. But Indiana cannot go 4 straight games and lose. They've already lost 2 in a row, so that would put them on a 6-game losing streak, which this 4-game stretch is pretty much going to either go ahead and put the lid on the trash can or leave it open for a little longer to see if the Raccoons can get in there or not. But I'll make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm only seeing 9 potential tournament teams from the Big Ten now. And that may drop depending upon what Ohio State does, although their net ranking, I talked about this with Rick, strangely elevated. They have a good win over Purdue, but other than that, they don't. And they have some goofy losses. Man, that loss to Maryland by the Hoosiers just really, really hurts more after Maryland goes and gets the win that they got last night. That would have been huge for Indiana. That would have been a 3rd Q1 win. And the reason I mentioned that is because I'm talking about, I think it was Ohio State, or maybe it's Penn State that I looked up, and I was looking through their numbers. Their net ranking is like they're 51st. They're the one they have a win over Purdue, but nobody else. And they have some goofy losses. They've got one quad 1 win. if Indiana could have gotten that win over Maryland. That would have been their third. And no doubtedly that would have gave their net a huge boost. But it would have, to me, given them a much better looking resume than Penn State or Ohio State, both of whom have much better looking metrics numbers. But Indiana has beaten both of those teams, not only have beaten them, but beat them on the road. But those are but they did not get that win. So you can't make that argument. So there's that. What happens at the end of this year? I really don't know. I mean, I expect change, of course, but who is it going to be? That, the speculation everybody's throwing out, including me, have been throwing out some names that are obvious. And everyone has opinions on whether Dusty May would or will not make a move if offered. Will Indiana give Chris Beard the opportunity because of the incident that he had? Bruce Pearl's name comes up. Bruce Pearl's going to be 65. That's not going to happen. It would be great, but Indiana would be in the same situation again in 4 to 5 years. And it's time for some continuity. It's time to get somebody that is successful and that does it over the long haul. This is not something you want to be repeating. Indiana needs to get this right without question, because you've got the football program that is about to be rolling. It is rolling. If you can get basketball going with that, that is uber successful, because Indiana's not the biggest school in the Big Ten. And to be able to manage that and have a successful women's basketball program as well, outstanding. Not very few schools can lay that claim. It would be absolutely a good one. Someone mentioned, Jason, I believe, mentioned earlier, and I saw this on there myself because I responded to it. I'm looking. Anyway, there we go. He says he's still curious about who started the rumor on X about the death threats against, and it's blank, but Mike Woodson is the answer. Well, my immediate response to that tweet was, who, what, when, and where was this reported? And that person responded, but they did not respond with any. It was a Mike Woodson response. They did not answer the question. There were no death threats that I'm aware of. I have not seen, heard, or know of any. I've not seen or heard of any reports. And if you don't see those in a credible source, didn't happen. Don't get your news from Facebook. But that one's a little surprising for me. I mean, it said, if you send death threats, you're not a fan, you're a POS, I'm like, well, who did this? Who, what, when? Why do people just go off? And stuff like that, to me, is pure idiocy, or the biggest attention-seeking gesture I can imagine. But different strokes for different folks, I guess. But the worst thing is people blindly respond to it. Oh, yes, if this happened, well, that's terrible. Well, instead of saying that, why don't you just take the same amount of time and research? Because it would be a very quick search. Death threats, Mike Woodson. You know what's going to come up? Nada. Zip. Neat. Crickets. Because there were none. Nothing has been reported. Nothing has been talked about. No mention of it anywhere. And there's a lot of junk out there on social media without question, but that's some serious junk and dumb. Just dumb. And people like that, I think you should have to have a license to be on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. Facebook, free reign. It's pretty much like that anyway. But Twitter's starting to become too much like Facebook. I think that it should just be left for specific information. You can ask questions or comment, but it's just dumb. It's like road rage. People do things behind the wheel of a car like they would behind a keyboard that they would never do in public. It's just, I don't get that. But what are you going to do? Yeah, well, because they enjoy it, Gritty. That's why they would do an extra hour. Of course. But I wish we could. But no, it's too busy today, as always. Let's see. Yeah, we were talking about that yesterday, Russell, the fight that broke out in the VCU St. Louis game. That was crazy. Beards for Beard. Yeah. If Chris Beard was to get hired, I can already see it. Well, you get the Signetti and the Beards. Sig Beard. Oh boy. Sig Beard. There you go. Indiana's new mantra. Don't steal it. Sig Beard. You have the Signetti logo, then the Beard logo, but Chris Beard doesn't have a beard. How does a guy named Beard not have a beard? Right? Shouldn't he wear a beard just by default? You know, keep it clean, whatever, but I think that Chris Beard needs a beard just because. It would be a good logo. It'd be a great way to, you know, you got the Stephen Van Pelt thing. You can tell exactly who it is without any name to it. With the little bald head and the glasses, you can do the same kind of thing. Now, Brian, I don't know what you're talking about here. He says that we're talking upwards of $10 million per season for Beard to even look Indiana's direction. No, I'm not sure where that number comes from. Why? He's not making anything close to that at Ole Miss. And his buyout is $3.5 million. So, no, it will not. It would not take any more money than they were currently spending. Unfortunately, they still have to spend that money on Mike Woodson. And this brings up to mind another thing. All these contracts are only written in the benefit of the coach and the players nowadays. Why are there not there? And there are all these performance-based clauses for bonuses. Why are there not performance-based deductions? Hey, if you don't reach this, you don't get this. Hey, if you don't win X number of games, you don't get this. If this doesn't happen, you don't get this. It's a one-way street. And because of that, millions upon millions of dollars go out the window. That to me is needless. There are very few jobs in the world where, well, none of us have a job, I guarantee you, that we can do his job as poorly as possible, and it doesn't matter. The only thing that we're going to get is paid well and maybe bonuses. Well, you know what? There are plenty of companies that deduct when you don't do things right. And that's how it should be. People think that those enhancements are inducements. Well, how about an inducement for not losing? I think it would be better to just don't give the bonus. Say, hey, this is what it is as long as you achieve this. But if you achieve this, this is what you get. Give them the reason to not lose. Force them. Well, most people you don't have to, because most people just have this innate desire to win if they're competing. Oddly, Mike Woodson seems older than he is to me. He acts older than he is to me. I look at Bruce Pearl, energy. He does not see, he's there. He's in it. Rick Pitino in his 70s. The dude's a madman on the sidelines. He's fired up. He's just, it's because of his competitive nature. I don't see how you can coach and not have that. Indiana does not have that. There's no fire. There is zero fire. And, you know, that's personality and that's fine, but I don't think it works personally. There's no doubt a coach's personality, the team picks up on that. That's been said over and over many times. And it's because it's true. When a coach demands something of you every day, the same thing, the same way, well, that becomes a habit. And it takes 30 days, 21 days actually, but to develop 21 straight days to develop a habit straight. If you're not doing these things consistently every day, the same way, then they're not habit forming. And that's good or bad. But I don't think there are good habits that have been formed. They don't do the same things the same way. And therefore there is no consistency. But there's just no fire. Who plays like their hair's on fire on that team? I mean, I know that there's a couple guys who care, but I also know that doesn't matter how much you care, when you know you're surrounded by people who don't feel the way you do, it's pretty disheartening because you also know that you cannot do it alone. I'm sure that there are several guys that look to that bench and just shake their head and have probably lost confidence. There's been a lot of stuff that's come out that may or may not be true. I do not know. Some of it, I find it hard to believe, but about what goes on in practice and whatnot. But it won't be like this next season. That's one thing I am more than confident about, and that Indiana fans are going to be much happier next year. So just chill, ride out the storm. That's all you can do. You just got to ride it out, folks. It's going to be what it is, no matter what team you pull for, whether it's the Pacers, the Colts, the Hoosiers, the Boilers. Doesn't matter. You got to ride it out, and you can kind of read the writing on the wall. If you've got a team that's heading Purdue, well, you know what? They're going to the NCAA tournament. They know that. They're going to go in with a very good shot at making the second weekend. They will be expected to make the second weekend. That's a good place to be in, because from there, you never know what can happen. So if you're a fan of a team like that, there's no reason you're not feeling good. teams that are not heading to the tournament, like Indiana, for example. You just have to accept it. And this is not last year where there was a lot of questions. There's no question to me that change be coming at the end of the season. And I think that because, and people want, I've seen people say, oh, there should be an announcement made. No, they're not going to do that. There's not going to be an announcement. There's not going to be, just ride it out. Indiana has, 10 more games there? Yeah. 10 more Big Ten games. So you probably have 11 more games, possibly 12. 11 more, including the Big Ten tournament. But that's it. And you got to do what you got to do. Hey, man, it was a fun day as always. I can't tell you how much we appreciate you. Hope everyone goes out and has a wonderful day. We're back tomorrow to do this again and set the stage for the Indiana-Purdue clash with Todd Leary as he joins us. Zach Osterman as well. We'll see what else we can get scared up for you. We were hoping to have Stephen Bardo on the program today, but he couldn't make it. We'll have him on next week instead. His Illini are flying high. Go out and have yourselves a great day, peeps. We appreciate you more than you know. We're back with you tomorrow. Until then, I am Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.